All right, everybody. Welcome to this week's What the Heck. Let me open up the YouTube links. We have Robbie and Forrestine this week. Alex is making some apparently really bomb dinner for the fam, so I don't know. We might see him later. Oh, don't want to hear myself. There we go. Cool. All right, we're in. Let's see. Let me turn on the thingies and echo cancellation. So many things. This sucks. Okay. April 28th. Ooh, I misspelled April 28th. Cool. Let's do intros. Who are you and what do you really like about your current setup? Robbie, because you're eating, you go first.
Okay. I'm Robbie. I really
Easy.
like
You.
what do I really like? I really like two things that are crucial to me. Um, Number one is the Ergosynth Black Sequencer. It's just awesome. Um, hey, I'm on video now. I really like that Ergosynth Black Sequencer, and then I also really like my Tesseract modular mixer. I find that having two aux sends makes my effects really awesome, and that's me. I love my mixer.
Yeah, having accents is rad. Uh, it may be the death of maths for me is trying to get some aux sends as the expansion module for the stereo compressor that I'll be getting from Endorphins. Forestine,
What was the question?
what do you really like about your current setup? Like, what do you like about it right now?
Hmm.
Hey, Nubulon. Hey, Tim.
I'm kind of mad at it right now, but
I actually had written the question, what do you hate about your current setup? And I was like, that's too negative. It's too easy. Let's go with a harder question.
well, like the mad at it isn't very like it's not very specific. It's I can't get it to do the thing that I want. So, um, I've been having fun with putting vocals through stuff. And I just like recently realized you can just put vocals through whatever the hell you want. So that's
Everything. Uh, I, I think I told you, but I don't think I told many other people. Like, there was a day, like a week or two ago, that I was just like, I had the green bullet microphone and I had it like jacked into the ears module and I was putting the output of that. The ears module is just an amplifier. Output of that into just random things and I was just like screaming to see what happened. And my partner came down and was like, What are you doing?" Because all she heard was like random screams.
if nobody catches you like just breathing into a microphone, then I think you're doing it wrong.
Just breathe. Oh my gosh, heavy breathing is
I,
CB.
I
That's
have
awesome.
I have recorded heavy breathing and crying into a looper before, and always like get really nervous somebody's gonna walk in.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, anytime I try to start singing anything, I get super nervous. Somebody's gonna walk in, and there's no reason to because it's like a pandemic, and who cares? But hey, Woke, thanks for dropping in for a second before you go into Meet Space Meet. Yeah, I love vocals through stuff. So that's cool. That's cool. We have a long list of stuff actually.
It's just like, what about this? Oh, what about this? I don't know.
Is there anything anyone well, anyway, either of you particularly want to talk about first? Because I can see us going on tangents on any of this.
Start at the top, work your way down.
All right, first question. Why does Luce like Hex 7 so much? An old question from Forestine.
That is an old question, and I think the answer is she likes listening to people talk.
Oh, it's the
And
talking. I
yeah,
assumed it was resonance, but
she likes
maybe
talking.
Robbie ruled that out.
And like your talking is like not like watching TV. It's like I don't know. It's calm. I don't know. That's all I could gather. I think it's because she likes.
Um,
So now we've
I don't-
answered the question, and it's got no mystery left.
I've got your sticker right here. I just don't have any place I can put it that it will be big on this camera. So right now it is in my hand, but I do have it. It will be an Easter egg in many, many videos. Probably even.
Have you ever seen South Park? And there's like the kids are like in fourth grade or something, but their enemies are like the sixth graders. And there's this one sixth grade kid, and his shirt is just a picture of his own face on his own shirt. And that just reminds me of that. I don't know why it's so funny, but
Like those old Halloween costumes where you're like a character with a picture of your own face on it, on like the front, and it's just like a plastic smock.
Yeah, so my last employer I guess I heard about this story. I wasn't there for this, but I guess for one of their first like company-wide meetups in person, they had decided it was a good idea to print everybody's like individual avatar, like the photo of their face, on a shirt real big and give it to them. So everybody had this shirt with their own face on it really big. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't intended that way, but everyone realized how hilarious it was like weeks later when they'd like answer the door and the postman was like, what are you doing? Oh, I got with the dude. You do kind of look like the dude, CK. Yeah, I actually have a faceplate that I might use on my other case to put the sticker on, so it'll be more semi-permanent. Yeah, so that answers that question. Check. Next. I'm going to skip in that one because it was a joke.
Who needs mystery in their life?
Organization tactics. That was something that I always think is a fun topic, and I think we've touched on it a few times. But something that got me thinking about it earlier is that Colin Benders is reorganizing all 50 bajillion modules in his new studio into this gigantic case. I have no idea how many HP. I don't even know if Modular Grid goes that big. I'm sure it does, but anyway. The point is that he's been releasing these videos, sort of documenting the process, because when you have that many modules, it is a process. So I think y'all should just watch those videos and learn a little bit from it, because it sounds like there were some really good tidbits. Like one of the things that struck me was Colin going like, yeah, don't try to put all your oscillators over here and then all your filters over here and then all of these things over here and all like, because then you have just long cables everywhere and you can't reach anything because they're just covering everything. But that really struck me as interesting was it seemed like a pretty default, like for us with smaller amounts of modules, it seems like a pretty default tactic, like move left or right and things like that. But I think the way that Colin's going about it is actually really smart, where you have sort of a central sort of control center right flat right in front of you with all your main controls, and then you sort of have like districts is what he called it, where you have like individual sort of instrument setups spread around, which I thought was pretty cool. So like this one might be dedicated to like weird sort of unpredictable noise sound design stuff. This one might be like your leads and bass and stuff like that. So I thought that was a really solid tip. How do you organize your stuff is what I was going to ask.
Oh, I was just thinking that then you've decided that this is now only for leads and bass, and now I can never use these for the wrong thing anymore, which is kind of weird.
I think it's more like, well, this is how I arrived at things very similarly, is like, if I'm using this module for the same type of things over and over again, and it's usually connected to like the ADSR and like maybe the ADSR should probably be next to my VCA mixer, because they're pretty much always going to each other. Like you come up with these patterns that are pretty common in your setups, and I think you use those to create sort of that instrument. But that doesn't limit you a ton. You can, it is modular. You can just get that long cable out and plug that in and like send it over to the noise district, you know?
That's cool.
I think. You go.
Oh, I just saw part of it when my partner was watching it the other day, and I was just like, "That's too many modules. That's too many." Like,
when he pans to the floor, I was like,
it's just too many.
it's the kind of thing where we all would want that, but at the same time, it's like if you have that many modules, it goddamn better sound good. You know what I mean? Like you better not ever be running out of sounds.
What I actually said
That's
to Nelson was like, even if I won the lottery, I wouldn't want that many in one rack like that. I don't know. It's just like I got
yeah. I'd
overwhelmed
probably
thinking about it.
But I will say that the way I've arranged my modules is a similar thing. I have four separate modules that are VCAs, and when I first got my case and I started arranging them, I'm like, yeah, the VCAs will be over here. But very quickly, I realized they need to be spread out, and I need to have a VCA here, and a VCA here, and a VCA here, and in dead center. Well, it's not dead center, but pretty close to the center is my clock divider because I always go from my sequencer into the clock divider, and then that goes everywhere. And I purposely put modules I know I'm going to touch a lot, like the performer with the four arcade buttons, and my filters because I love filters, and my sequencer. I put those on the corner, put those on the edges because they won't be as covered by cables. So that's kind of my guiding principle.
yeah. I do very similar. I design around my filters primarily.
We so my like for people who don't know, my partner and I kind of built our stuff like together, and so we've planned both of our setups and everything. Takes a lot of consultation. But so we started with like a nifty case and planned the whole thing. And so now because I thought it would like be nice if that was still portable, so we left it that way. And then we have like the other case now. But the other case, like we had a whole idea for how we were going to arrange it, and then a bunch of modules are too deep to fit on the top row or something, and then
Oh, yeah. um, I'm I haven't encountered this personally, but between you and I think Frederick had this issue recently. Like, make the cases like just a little bit deeper, please. Some of those modules are thick.
well, and okay, the really annoying thing is one of them is an IntelliGel Shifty, and it's an IntelliGel case, and it
Oh
needs
no,
to fit in the top row.
that's pretty shifty of them.
Yeah, I bought a Moog case with the Moog 3U 104 HP case with the intention of making it a battery powered mobile thing. And it's kind of, I don't know if they call it a skiff or what, but it's too shallow for any of the 2HP modules. It's too shallow for a number of modules, and there's no getting around it.
Yeah, I mean that one. That's what Frederick got as well, and I think it's the same one. I don't know how you would make that battery powered with the battery internal. Maybe there's just enough room at the very bottom of the back, but you'd almost need to put the battery on the outside on the back.
Yeah, my plan was to Velcro the battery pack. Where's my? I don't have it. I don't think I have it here. It's just a Anker Power Core USB battery pack that powers my Polyend Anywhere power supply. I get about 2 or 3 hours of synth time on it, and it's completely portable. And I just put some Velcro on the end, and you can just stick the battery pack on it.
That's cool. I don't have that problem. All of my modules have plenty of space. It's like 20 centimeters deep. For Cosmos stuff, and so when I take out like my Eurorack section, it's hilarious because they're all teeny tiny. All right, is it? What else? I'm gonna save that one for another one. I don't know who wrote this. I think it was Forrestine, but the topic is using MIDI begrudgingly.
You needed to hear my upward inflection.
Yeah, it's 20 centimeters deep. That's why, I mean, it's, look at that. It's 20 centimeters.
Yeah, so
Oh.
MIDI is happening, and I still have complaints, but
Yeah, it's
All right,
interesting
let's.
that it's not. It's still like to this day, it's still kind of annoying and kind of hard to use MIDI. Like there's all kinds of little problems. You'd think it would be just this trivial solved problem by this module and it always works perfectly, but it's just that's not the case.
well, like, and I haven't done much like MIDI to TV stuff, but I'm just trying to have MIDI things alongside my Eurorack stuff, and everything wants to be its own clock, which I also put in the agenda because I'm annoyed about that. And so then it's like, well, how do I? And then also Nelson built a MIDI gal, which is like it's based on Immutable Instruments design. MIDI PAL, I think.
Is it MIDI a CV module?
No, it's just a MIDI sequencer, but it's like a little box.
Oh,
And I've been using it with these polysynths that we are borrowing. And it's nice because like a lot of these old polysynths just don't have a brain at all. So like there's the patches, but there's no sequencing or anything. But this thing just has an out and an in. So you plug it in and out of your thing, and then you play the sequence, and then it saves in the little box.
oh, cool. Yeah,
It's
that's
elegant.
rad.
But if you turn it off, your whole save bank is gone, and there's a bunch of other things like that I don't like about it. And because there's only an in and an out, and the Juno Hellcat does not clock, then like I can't clock it, and it wants to be its own clock. So I tried like I tried putting the sequence in, and then undoing that MIDI cable, and then plugging in something else that was clocking it, but it was getting all confused, and then the Juno got stuck on a note, and
Oh, I've occasional stuck notes. Usually when I'm plugging in things at this point. There's also still a mystery one that occasionally shows up on my SEO2 and I don't understand. But I did wrestle with. I'm not sure what you mean by everything wants to have its own clock, but what I ran into is I would hit play on like my primary MIDI controller, whatever that was, and some of the internal sequencers on my devices would start going, which is normally not a. I mean, it's a problem if I want to sequence that device. Sometimes some devices let you turn off that internal sequencer and like listen to the outside one, and others like I think it was the Volca sample that I could never get it to like not play when I hit play. So what I did was I made the main like saved sequence just empty so that it is playing, but it's still receiving the notes and playing them normally from my primary sequencer. So that was something I ran into and struggled with for a minute.
so basically stuff would rather clock other stuff than to be clocked. But then if every device is like, well, this has a super stable internal clock, and I'm like, but I want to use a different clock.
Oh, I don't know. Well, I'm happy to help you troubleshoot, but I haven't won all of my battles like this little guy. It actually doesn't like MIDI from like MIDI cables. I guess it's okay with USB, but my USB is going to something else. Anyway, this is the OPZ, and so right now it's in a bag because I'm going to go traveling this weekend. Well, I just got back from one too. Anyway, yeah, physical MIDI panic button I have thought about a lot of the time because actually what was happening with the OBZ is, I was clocking from the OPZ, so I was sending all the MIDI out of the OpenZ using this as my controller, and it would like freeze notes on the big synthesizer, like they would hang and there was nothing I could do. I would hit like the hard reset on many things, and man,
the only
that
thing you can do is turn
stunk.
the synth off, right? That's what happened to me.
What I ended up doing was unplugging the OPZ, plugging in my Squarp, and hitting the stop on that, and it did fine. So, somewhere between this and my Cosmo are angry bees or gremlins, I guess.
I know that I don't have, so I've been fortunate enough to remain completely pure. And
Trying not to flip you off right now, man. I know what you're gonna say.
But
Yeah.
I will say that even those of us who haven't gunked up our synthesizer, even those of us that aren't using MIDI at all,
You're a jerk.
uh, um, it's not all sunshine and rainbows because there can be problems with clocking, especially when it comes to resets. I've had a module before where basically there's two ways that a module deals with a reset that I've experienced. The first way is that maybe when it gets a reset signal, um, it says okay, it immediately jumps to beat one, and then when it gets the next clock pulse, it'll be on beat two. But the other way that a
Oh,
module could deal with a reset is when it when
there's
it
an echo happening.
yeah, I'm getting sorry. Is it could it be me?
Is it gone?
Oh, it's gone.
Okay.
The other way that it could happen is when it gets a reset, it waits for the next clock pulse before jumping to beat one. So when the next clock pulse arrives, one module is on beat one and the other module is already on beat two, and you have a desync every time you use reset. And it's this horrible nightmare of a problem. And I don't really know what the fix is, but luckily I just stopped using that module. So it's not a problem anymore.
Well, I don't know if this is your fix, but I do finally have like a sequencer that's not MIDI that I can use that I've been showing off. You know, I guess the camera's pointed at it right now.
Yeah, that is such a cool sequencer. That is so, I love that thing.
Hold on, I gotta get it looking right. Not quite. No escape. Anyway, what it's got, I covered the thing I was going to show. What it's got is a reset, and this is the first time I've ever used a reset on one of these, and so I didn't know what to expect. But what I ended up doing was sending a start-stop signal out of the pyramid. So start is high when it's running, and stop it's low. And this sequencer is smart enough to know that when I put this into the reset, when I hit stop, it resets it. And when I hit, actually it might be play. When I hit play, it resets and starts on one. So it always starts every single time. Let me turn off all the other things. It always starts on the first note. So I'm like restarting it. So it always starts on the first note. So I think what you're maybe missing to make your reset work properly is some MIDI. That was a long, stupid joke.
Okay. No, there's nothing wrong with MIDI. It's just I joke about it a lot, but it's fine to do it. I'm happy that people are enjoying using it. But interestingly, it's kind of one of it's kind of one of the reasons I don't want to use MIDI. Is the same reason that I don't want a lot of outboard gear, is because if I wanted to use a keyboard and MIDI, and I would feel like I'm doing real music, and I don't want to do real music. I want to do modular music. You know, I want it to be its own thing, and part of the creativity of it is digging into that.
Real music?
I don't want to
Real
do real music. I want to do modular music.
The one thing about MIDI that's cool is like I can talk to like this Juno that's from 1986 pretty easily, which is cool. With like modern hardware. That is a plus.
It is cool. Like so I think I've been thinking about this a lot because I've been thinking about maybe doing some live stuff later this year when I'm not at risk of dying or killing my parents. So from a vaccine. So I've been thinking about how do I get all of this to a bar to play a 20-minute set, right? Like that's my huge limitation. And what I ended up coming up with and planning to build is basically like that stuff is all fine. It's a modular. I just pick up the cases and I go. Like that stuff's ready to go. Just plug in a few cables and it's good to go. But this stuff is more complicated because you have to have like the MIDI signal chain and all the power stuff, and like it's a pain. It takes a long time to set up here. So what I'm planning on doing is essentially building a flight case that is playable. So basically, somebody turned me on to, I forget the YouTube person, but he's got like this gigantic flight case where everything's in styrofoam and all the controllers are in there and like connected under the styrofoam.
Yeah,
I'll
I know
build
that guy. He's
something
like an
like
English
that.
guy, right? Like
Yeah,
yeah, and it's all pick and pluck foam, and he doesn't really do modular synth as much as it's like dedicated hardware boxes.
yeah, right. So he's got like Electron Digitakt and stuff like that. But I thought it was a good analog or a similar thing for me to do. So basically, I build this thing with the foam inserts. I have a second set of power supplies and cables for all of them to interconnect, and basically have like little cable set up under the foam, so that when it's time to like go, I take like my Microfreak or whatever devices make the cut, stick it into the slot, plug in the little things without like removing any of those from here. And then when I go to the show, it's a matter of plugging in like a power supply and connecting like some of that box essentially to that box. So that's something that I think is a huge downside to having outboard gear, is like setup time. So I do envy, like if I was going to make a Eurorack skiff, I'd probably get something around the size of, like Tim's got good size ones. I really like the Endorphins one. I think it's around this size. And I would make something like that. That would be pretty nice for on the go. Velcro is my friend. Yeah, there will be a lot of Velcro involved. I'm sure I have rolls of it already.
One thing that was a game changer for me is before I had my big case, and I call it a big case, but it's about the size of a. It's a little bit. It might be a little bit too big to be a carry-on on an airplane. Maybe, yeah, maybe, but it's not much bigger than a carry-on. But that's my big case, and what's cool is it's all one. There's only one cable that comes out of it. It's a power cable, and that's it. Before I had that, I actually had 2.5 cases, two big cases and one small pod, and I had so now instantly I have 3 power supplies, and that doesn't seem like a big problem, but it really simplified things when I got a single cable and it's all in one box, including my sequencer. I'm looking forward to traveling.
Yeah,
Like an audio interface or something though that you have to plug in. And
Well, I have the I just got the indoor. So my mixer has a line level out, line level out, and I have the Endorphins Golden Master now, which I still need to integrate, but it's really cool and it gives me overall EQ and overall limiting and stuff. So I'm looking forward to using that as well.
right. The limiting, that was something I was looking at as potentially like a piece of gear to put in that outboard box basically and keep in there, because I really don't want to like show up and be like, hey, it's my first time, I'm playing with modular, and like crank the resonance on accident and blow speakers, or more likely crank some bass. So I'm definitely going to have a limiter at some point.
Hey, I'm new. Oh, sorry, I destroyed this.
Check out this cool thing I built. Yep. First bass note from the first kick from the Drum Brute Impact blows up their speakers.
All you do is bump the resonance knob a little too high, and guess what?
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Or,
I am.
When are you going to perform live?
Yes. Never is an acceptable answer.
Like in Meat Space?
well, our vaccine rollout's still taking forever. Last I saw, it was 6% of people in my province are fully vaccinated because the rollout is very bad. So, I would probably like to, but I'm not really sure. I need to think about what I would bring. I actually had an opportunity to play a live show a little while ago that ended up being a gong show that I didn't play at the venue, and I'm kind of glad I didn't, but I mostly said I would play it online because I didn't have a ride, so. But like,
Cool.
I don't know. I'm not
That's
keen
cool.
on going to a lot of things, and I don't like going to places that are too loud. And so I like to just play my music at a reasonable volume in my own home.
I can tell you that I've gone to probably over 1,000 live music shows, and I've been wearing earplugs since the very first show. Like that's just what you do. Just it's okay to wear earplugs.
But you know, like when you can't hear what people are saying next to you and everybody's shouting, I
Yeah,
get
that's
like
annoying.
super overstimulated and there's too many people and it's really hot.
Yeah, I'm hoping to avoid that by being the one playing the music, so no one's trying to talk to me unless they're like, "Hey, man, you blew our speakers. Stop."
There's always somebody really tall in front of me and I can't see a fucking thing, so I might as well stay home. Like, is the other thing. So,
Well, the other option is maybe we end up playing, at not big, gigantic, loud venues, but maybe small coffee
yeah,
shops
like
or
coffee
something,
shops.
some
Yeah, it
sort of
would be
community
fun. I
center.
would like to do that. I like, um, I would actually really like to do something like bring your own headphones. I don't know if they have those where you folks are, like where you go to
Yeah,
a public
silent disco.
venue and
Silent
everybody puts
discos.
their headphones in. Yeah, they're. I would like to do one of those probably.
We've actually done that at work. We had an event where, our company meetup, and like we had some folks at the company like to DJ, so they did DJ sets, but they did it with these fancy gear that we rented, where we all had like these headphones that you could switch between 3 channels, I think, like red, green, blue, by tapping the ear. So there were 3 DJs playing at once. But if you're like, this sucks, you can just hit the button and you're on a different DJ and dancing with the folks in that. So it was cool to see like the crowd change colors based on what was playing. And it was rarely like all one color. It was usually pretty evenly mixed, but you can like see the waves happen as a song ends and another one starts. It was pretty cool.
Oh, that's cool. Why do they call it silent disco? Are they playing like techno-y dancey stuff?
I don't know why. It's just that's what I know it as. Where like you have like an app on your phone, or
Yeah.
somebody's streaming music to
Oh,
your phone. Everybody's
streaming?
plugged into their phone, but
No,
there's no
this is
actual music outside of the headphones.
this is a long table where everybody can sit down and have coffee in like a respectable manner.
Oh, that
And
would
then
be
Oh,
fun
you just
too.
plug your headphones into the middle, and then the person plays is at the end of the
Oh,
table.
that would be fun
that's
too.
cool.
Yeah,
I was thinking like it was like you're on a dance floor
no,
and
it's at a pub.
Oh, I've never done that. Yeah, the one
It's
I was talking
really
about is like a dance floor. So imagine exactly what you would expect at like a nightclub, but when you take your headphones off, it's just really awkward because you hear no music. It's just like the sounds of people like dancing and breathing hard. Like it's
I
not an
also,
attractive sound.
the other problem is I don't like to go places where people might be dancing.
you have a lot of things that you don't like.
Don't be mean, Robbie. I don't know. Yeah, I also don't like to dance that much, other than like this. So again, if I'm playing music, I can have an excuse to not dance because I'm like holding on to a filter knob, my safety button,
Hold on to that filter knob
my
for
safety
dear
safe.
life.
Like, oh, things are getting scary. I gotta go to the filter.
Filters saved my life, man.
I love filters. I don't have enough of them. I've also been thinking about killing maths in order to get more filters, which, whatever.
Oh, I'm torn about that.
Because the mass filter, I tried it. It's not. It doesn't give me the sound that I like in a filter
Yeah,
for what I tend to use it for.
I've used it as like distortion in a pinch. It's kind of.
And that module, I think it's Tip Top Audio. Is it Miso? That somebody pointed out. It's $100. It would replace my last need for mouths and would be spray painted black probably.
But keep the green bits.
Oh yeah, I'd take all of the things off the panel first because I think the green and yellow, I think they're nuts, would look really freaking cool on black. Anyway, Missy. I need a filter to use to filter since I can't quit ping. Oh, you need a filter to use as a filter, right? The Icary is like such a pleasant sound. Like the filter resonance is so pleasant compared to my other filters that, yeah, I can see you just
It's
use
so
that.
pleasant. I'm still like learning stuff on that thing. Like,
It's, I mean, it's the same designer that worked on the soft pop, and the filter in the soft pop is very similar and lifelike. So
that is
as
what it
soon
is.
as,
It's
yeah,
really, yeah. It's
it's like
I
really
yeah.
bubbly. Here, let me turn.
Listen to
The
that.
best sound.
Instantly love it. Instant love. Like,
You should get one. You'll like it. I know you will.
yeah, I have two Ericsson Pico filters, the Polyvox filters, but I could replace one with, I could put an Akari in instead.
The I think the baseline has a polyvox kind of filter in it. This is not the same as that. This is
Oh,
like
so oh no, so now, so I have three Polyvox filters. So I
the
really,
Akari's like is smoother than that.
Mhm.
Polyvox filter is on my list to build. I love the sound of it,
They're nice,
and the
yeah.
demos I've heard. And there's also the shoot. The other one's a person's name that I'm forgetting. Anyway, there's another filter, Steiner Parker. Is that right? Filter, Steiner Parker
Yep,
filter.
that is
Anyway, that is another one I'm planning to build. Um, OTA MS20. I think everybody should have MS20 filters. Like, they rule. They should have octave switches that are easy to crank. And yeah. Anyway. MS10 filter is even better, but I don't know if it's because it's old, but whatever. Next question.
could be that MS10. Or
Yeah.
is it all MS10s?
Right. Like, if I got a brand new MS10 manufactured with the same style of components and I played it today, it would probably sound completely different, or at least different enough. All right, let's see here. Making patches that go nowhere, is it wasted time? And I just want to say, I don't
I'm
think
just
so
feeling
at
like
all.
really the last like I keep trying to patch and I'm just like I don't know.
Well, let me ask you this: what? Let me ask you kind of the opposite question. What is a patch that goes somewhere? Where is? How do you define it? How do you know when it's okay? That patch went somewhere. What does that even mean?
See, I knew this would be an exciting question.
Because I don't
Like if
think
I want to record it, maybe even for like a snippet.
that's when you know it's a successful patch. Like, oh, because I recorded it, and it.
Because that was neat.
Well, I think that you get fired up. Like, if I have a patch that's going nowhere, like, I might be fired up a little bit. But if I like still struggle with it, like to get it to move forward, that's when I'm like, eh.
Yeah, I've
And
been feeling like that a lot lately. And I'm like, this isn't like the thing that I wanted, but it's not anything exciting by accident either, which is the thing that usually saves me.
that's cool. Yeah, so I think there is a good Andrew Huang video on this topic, or at least related to it. And apparently Robbie just lost it.
I have no idea why.
I think someone made it. I don't know. Anyway, it talks about like is not recorded stuff a waste of time, basically, and the short answer I completely agree with is no. Like, I don't know about you, but I'm not making a living, even though I'm officially paid as of a few weeks ago, 89 cents. Um, uh, I'm not doing this to make money. I'm not doing this to become super famous or anything. Although that would be, yeah, maybe a side effect if I was really good at it, but I'm not. But it's just for fun. So like, if I spend like 2 hours making stuff and I'm not having fun, I just go do other things. Then I come back and the next day I'm like, that sucked. Let's make it fun. And like start over. Like, I have no attachment to stuff that's unfun. I don't worry about wasting time because it's usually a learning experience. Like, I got zero recorded output from me yelling into a microphone into my synthesizer for a whole day, but it was a lot of fun.
Robbie,
think
what were
it's-
you laughing at so hard?
I was laughing because Tim said, enthusiastic electron said, if it goes somewhere, is it really modular music? I mean,
No, if it goes somewhere, it's modular, but without MIDI controllers.
I'm happy to make all the jokes about all the stereotypes of the music we make because there's some truth to them. But I will say that um, if you're looking for something with permanence, you're in the wrong hobby to begin with because let's say you create a really cool sound. Well, you're going to unpatch eventually, and then you may never be able to recreate it ever. So it's like I hope you recorded it. It's like if I pick up a saxophone, it kind of sounds like my saxophone tomorrow, even if I put on a different reed. Um, but if I repatch my synth, it's never going to sound exactly the same, and so you're in the wrong business.
Yeah, like I don't know. I just like.
I don't know.
mm,
Yeah, yeah. I don't. And that's the funny thing. The ephemeral ability. Nothing's permanent.
It's
I haven't
volatile.
even been drinking tonight. But yeah, I don't even think about that anymore. That used to bother the heck out of me. Like I'd really worry about like trying to get that exact same voice. And on some things, like I took some notes. So like I'm like, okay, on the lead it has a long attack time, so it sounds like a flute or something. Or I'll write like flute. And that's the end of my patch. Like I don't care if it's the same, but if I know like if I want to go play that thing again, I'm like, okay, I know this is a lead, so let's patch up a lead thing and connect it to that. And
right, because you
yeah,
actually have sequences you save, which
right.
I've never done in my life.
Um, I envy that freedom. Day I'll switch.
And then I
Um,
keep thinking I'm making up a unique sequence, and it sounds like all of the other sequences. Although for a while I was gaslighting myself because I forgot to save things on the mimetic, so it was actually the same sequence every time I turned it on.
I think there's similar patterns. Like I definitely find myself doing like uh, da 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 like that sequence on different instruments over and over again. And you know what? Sometimes I forget, but it's okay. I don't worry about it being different, especially if it's drums. It sounds good. I like it. It's fine.
Yeah, I have the Arturia Micro Brute, which is a little tiny
Yeah.
tiny 2-octave keyboard. Um, I don't use it very much, but it came with these cards that you overlay the top, and it tells you all the knob positions to try to recreate a sound. And I haven't used them at all. And it comes with some blank ones for you to like save a preset of your own sound. And it's like I don't want to accurately recreate exactly specific sounds. I want to do my own thing.
Yeah, that's cool. I think this leads nicely to the next, or into a next question of, I think you wrote it, Robbie, which is, um, how do you how do you keep melodic sequences interesting? And like, how do you add variety? Like, is there a lot of pre-programming or randomness or what? And I think these topics are very, very related now.
Yeah, I thought about that. I didn't have a good answer. I wrote that question, but I thought about it, and I do have an okay answer. There's two ways I do it, um, and both of them are because of my Erica Synth sequencer, black sequencer. The first thing I do is that I realize that it's really common for me to set all of my notes to have a 90% probability of playing. So most of the notes play most of the time, but occasionally one doesn't trigger, and that creates a lot of variety with a static sequence. And the other thing I do is that you can the randomization capabilities of the black sequencer are so awesome because you can set the minimum and maximum range, and you can randomize the notes within a certain scale and this whole thing. Um, so you can actually change the sequence on the fly. I've never had a sequencer that invites me to change the sequencer live like the black sequencer does. Like you can change it or you can live transpose it really easily. And that's a way to make the sequence interesting without changing the timbre of the sequence. I'm not changing the voice, I'm not changing a filter. I'm literally changing the sequence, but in small ways.
What about you, Forrestine? Because you often have like when you have sequences, they tend to be, I guess, my favorite types of sequences, which are sort of uh, not super complex. They're not like super fast arps or anything like that. Just like a sort of nice melody over 4 or 8 bars or something. What do you do to keep it interesting? Because you do that successfully.
Um, it's like, so mostly what I do is play with like textures of the sounds more than I choose a sequence around. Although I've been playing with other ways to kind of keep it interesting lately, like changing when the sequencer is resetting, or like lately what I've been doing is I've got like the mimetic digitalis is being clocked, and then I've got something going into random sometimes, and then
Yeah,
something going into origin sometimes, so that it resets.
that's cool. That's
Because
rad.
16 is like too long, like to just listen to 16 steps. And also, I've been playing on the SQ1 with just playing with the buttons. You can set it to active step, and then just keep like playing around with the notes in the same sequence, which is kind of cool.
That's cool. Um, I know how I do this beyond like creating preset sequences. Because sometimes when I'll get a bug where I'm like, I'm gonna stream and I have like one drum pattern and nothing else prepared, so I can't like do an easy drop where I just switch the whole sequence that changes the drums and a couple leads or whatever. Like I have to like do it all as I go. And randomization is something I tried for a while with a lot of different devices. BeatStep Pro made it really simple. I actually like it the best on the OPZ, the way that I can sort of change the steps. But which is why I was thinking of sequencing everything with this live instead of the pyramid. But I just haven't been that fond of randomness unless you can program it per step, because I find myself, if everything's random, like even 90%, like there's always, when that first beat, like that beat one that you need to like bob your head, when that misses, like, oh, it throws me off way off. Like it doesn't happen too often because like you said, it's 90%, but like when I was listening to your set, Robbie, every once in a while, like most of the times the drums were rad because they were constantly changing, and I noticed that. But every once in a while there'd be like a key one or two. If it was like two of the key beats that went away, it was like, ugh.
Yeah,
uh,
you're exactly right. I have the Varigate 4 Plus, and it's only an 8-step sequencer, and I'm amazed with the variety that I can get out of that and the complexity that I get out of an 8-step sequence. But but you're totally right in that when I do the randomness, occasionally it doesn't random in a good way.
Right. And so what I've been tending to do with random stuff is think about it more in like uh, foundational stuff. I don't do as random. So like a 4 on the floor kick drum's not going to be randomized at all. Hi hats awesome to randomize. Additional kick drums beyond that 4 to the floor also awesome to randomize. So things like that I've been doing a little bit of to randomize some stuff. But I also just like turn off and on steps. I'll change the clock speed a little bit. Like I'll double the speed here and there, effectively halving or doubling the time. I did that a lot with one of those, like I think the How to Techno jam, where I had just like some heavy guitar-like sounds on either half, quarter, or eighth notes that just really did the job.
My
don't
other car is an SQ1.
Your other what? Your other car's Is there a Eurorack module that can reproduce the touchpad on BeatStep Pro? Yes, there is now. It's called the Golden Master by Endorphins, and if I was going to make an all-inclusive, like a pure modular, I would probably get that module because it's the closest to something that matches my workflow. I also have high hopes for software-based sequencers, hoping that they add features that I like, but they never do.
Did you say Golden Master? That's the one. That's the one I have.
Golden Master. It's ground control. Sorry,
Ground control. That makes sense.
ground control. It's essentially. I think it's like a love poem to the BeatStep Pro and a few other sequencers all in one, and really just an ideal situation for a Eurorack sequencer if you like the BeatStep Pro. There are things that are weird about it. For example, I think it's got like normally on sequencers, the bottom row is the sequence. In this case, you actually have to add in like the second weird note and like one towards the end or something like that to get the full 16 steps. But other than that, I think it's fine, and I think you'd get the hang of that in like 10 minutes. So,
and I think it's a really great controller as well because you can do live like arpeggios on it. You can just press a couple notes and I think it's an outstanding controller. In addition to being a pretty good sequencer too, if you like the BeatStep workflow.
Well, that's the thing that I think stinks about most of the sequencers, and I'm gonna toss the BeatStep Pro under the bus on this one because like these dorks at Teenage Engineering. Actually, I'm not even gonna hold that up because like these calculators have better performance features than these primary sequencers. Like, come on, like I can very dramatically change. I can add fills. I can do all sorts of cool stuff. Let me do that with my sequencer. I want performance mode where
those end up being like those giant sequencers that cost like $900.
Yeah, and even then, like I don't know, like the Circlon, I don't know that has a lot of that stuff. Like, yeah, they'll put in like a looper, or a beat repeat, but that's so lame compared to something that could like, if I hit a button, turn on fills in certain places or do some ratcheting, like a build up, that kind of stuff. I don't know. I'm just disappointed by sequencers. This one included. Like I want performative features that make it so that we can answer that last question of how do we make is like a 16. Like you don't need 64 steps if you can make that 16 steps really interesting with performance features.
Yeah, I was going to say the pyramid, which is basically 90% of your sequencing. That's all. You basically have to pre-program it, right? Like you can't really perform live. You can turn sections on and off, and you can jump between sections, but you can't. That's kind of it, right?
Yeah, you can think of it like the way I tend to use it is sort of like mute groups, where I'm turning off and on MIDI sections and various sequences and changing sequences like that. You can perform on it. It does have some performative features like there is. Let's go to something that would make sense to do this on. There is a beat repeat where if I'm, let's see, do I have to hit play to do it? Yeah, I might have to hit play. Oh, no, that's not it.
Filthy.
So like it's got beat repeat. So like if I hold the note, or two notes even, and then hold down one of these, I have a scale of beat repeat, similar to like the BeatStep Pro, and I could do the same thing with the touchpad if I set that up. But I do that sometimes. You'll see me do that occasionally, but that's about it as far as I go with performance things. You can also like play the keyboard, and the same goes for like any instrument. And there are some cool things. Let's see. Let's go to this and go to something that sounds good, like Sine Lord, and because somebody in here likes science, I think. And there's like a major, or not a major scale. There's like chords, I think. Yeah. So I can set those to be chords. whereas the top row is just individual notes. So it's got some nice performance things, but they're not really the type that I'm looking for.
Yeah,
Anywho,
that's one of the things that that's one of the reasons I chose. So when I was looking for CV sequencing, it was down to mimetic digitalis, which Forestine has, and the voltage block, which I have, and they're very similar in they're basically the same thing. The only difference is that voltage block has a bunch of sliders to put your input, whereas mimetic digitalis has a single knob that you turn. But the reason that I fell in love with voltage block is it has 16 buttons, and you can push the buttons to jump to that step. And if you hold the button down, it'll stay on that step.
Yeah,
And
sounds.
if you hold multiple buttons, it will arpeggiate through those steps. So you can kind of play the CV, and it was like very exciting when I discovered that.
You can
that's
do a
really
little bit of
rad.
that. You can do a little bit of that with the SQ1, which is funny because it's like, you know, so cheap. But
I mean, yeah.
yeah, like I keep looking at the zero control because of
Mhm.
that. It's like $500, or it's like more than that in Canadian.
Yeah. I mean, that's a. I think Korg has that feature down on several devices. Like on the sample, there was something very similar where I could do like you said, sort of bounce between things, or if I hit like just the right button, it would loop just to that point, which is pretty cool. Like that's, I mean, I want that kind of stuff, and I want it to be done in a non-destructive way. And when I say non-destructive, I mean like if I hit loop at the wrong time, it will just know to loop to that point, and when I let go, it'll continue playing where it would have been if I hadn't started looping.
That's what voltage
Um,
block does too. It
yeah,
prevents you from ruining the pattern.
because you don't want to like have to reset or like realign things. Like that's something I learned very quickly that I could do with this, not because it was going out of sync or anything. It would go out of sync when I would switch to this clock, like the more Eurorack native clock, and to get it back hooked onto the MIDI clock, I would just hit that clock button on it a few times to get it lined up again. I don't know. My other car is a no control. All right, I think, let's see, are there any other questions that I want to answer? Learning to attenuate, but I want to turn it all up to, I don't know what that means. We're going to come back to that. Actually, let's do that question really fast because I don't know what it means. Learning to attenuate, but I want to turn it all up to 11. This is written
Yeah,
like,
I keep like blasting full volume things into my spring reverb, and it doesn't sound as nice, and blasting full volume things into the local florist, and it doesn't sound as nice. Blasting full blast things into my filters, and it doesn't sound as nice. And also the CV going everywhere.
I think there's a broader there's a broader thing at play here, and I think we all have fallen victim to it. And that's you get ready to go and you're gonna play and you want to do every cool thing you know how to do all at once. And you do it in a minute and then you're like, I'm out of cool things. I don't have anything
They're
left
all
to do.
gone.
how do I get louder than this? How do I get more intense? Like the
So
worst is when I build up, like I do a build up to a drop that is more intense than my drop. Because when I do the drop, it's like, eh.
it's a real problem, and it's along the lines like for me, I had to learn two things really hard. One is let it ride for a minute. I remember one, I was doing a patch, and I had an idea where I wanted to go from part A, where I had a ton of triggers, and part B, where I only had one trigger, so that the notes would go from really busy to really sparse. And I remember I was happy about I was going to transition as I was like adjusting the number of triggers. And when I listened to playback of my stream, the middle point, the transition was actually way cooler than either part A or part B. And I was like, it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. And you got to really be willing to just if you find something that's cool, but it's not where you intended to be, let it play, let it hang out.
I
That's a nice
fall into
answer
those
to our
traps.
question too.
That's. I mean, I run into that all the time, and like especially with the iCurry, I keep trying to turn things up to 11, and it's not. It doesn't make it more intense. It just makes it more distorted.
No, and then all your resonance is not like
Go on, yeah, but that's okay. Sometimes that's what I want.
That's the other thing that I've been learning is that people have a lot more tolerance for noisy, resonance, squelchy, hot, like stuff than I do. And in fact, not only do people have a tolerance for it, they actually like it and enjoy it and associate it with being good music. And the noisier I get, the more people say, "Wow, you're really good." And it's like it's like an awakening for me because I find it
Stop!
distracting.
Don't tell them my secret. I'm not good. I just put a lot of distortion and high
make music
crap
you
load of
like,
resonance.
Scotty.
What did you say, Forrestine?
Make music you like though.
Well,
Yes.
I do. It was a learning experience that people are willing to put up with super noisy stuff that I would find distasteful. And not only are they willing to put up with it, but they actually
Tasteful.
Hold on, Forrestine. I'm just picturing his last set, him like playing like. Why do they like this?
Tasteful.
All right. On that note, let's see. Let's make sure my resonance is down.
yeah, play us off, but nothing distasteful, please.
Oh yes, I'm going to play us out tastefully.
The evil eye.